Do the elites actually worship Saturn? In this video, we're going to be discussing the occult and esoteric meaning of the 7 planets and the abuse of the Saturnic energy within today's world. This will help you gain a deeper understanding of reality, yourself, how you create reality, and what these 7 planetary energies actually truly are. In order to understand anything within the universe, we have to understand the law of correspondence, the law of as above, so below. There is one consciousness expressed in infinite forms. Me, you, the squirrel, everyone who possesses consciousness within this universe is an expression of the one divine consciousness, what we like to call Source, God, or the grand architect of the universe. We have to understand there is a large scale, but the large scale is mirrored in the small scale. If we look at lightning, this is a large scale. This is the macrocosm. Then we go a bit smaller to the trees. We see the same pattern. Then we look a little bit smaller into the human body. We see the same pattern of the nervous system. Then if we zoomed into the microcosm, brain cells, we still see the same pattern. This reveals the universe is a fractal universe. The large is reflected in the small. And this is the symbol of the Fibonacci sequence, which represents this as above, so below principle. The big spiral represents the macrocosm, but then this spirals into the tiny spiral. This symbol goes for eternity, never touching, never finishing. The large is mirrored in the small. With understanding this, we can realize that we are a microcosm of God. We are our own universe. We are our own world. Your body is the earth. Your mind is the mind of God, just in a smaller version. You are a drop in the ocean of the vast collective consciousness. With that being said, everything you see outside of you is inside of you. As above, so below. The 7 planetary energies on a macrocosmic scale are the 7 energies that form the physical world. The physical dimension is crystallized thought. Everything you see around you was thought made manifest. Thought imagined, then created in the physical reality. Therefore, these 7 planetary energies are 7 astral forces that create and weave the material existence. For example, if we look at a tree has 7 categories of consciousness, 7 creational forces that create the tree. This is the reason why we have 7 days of creation in the Bible. This is the reason why we have 7 days of the week for the 7 planetary energies. Monday is for the moon, Mars is for Tuesday, Mercury for Wednesday, Jupiter for Thursday, which is Thor. Thor is Jupiter. Venus for Friday, Saturn day for Saturn, Sunday for the sun. This is also the reason why we have 7 major energy centers within the body. The 7 life forces that flow through the body to give physical existence to the physical form. Man is a microcosm of the universe. With that being said, if we look at a tree is nature, and nature is the macrocosm, the creation of God's mind. And if we look at the tree, we can see 7 creational categories that go into create the tree. For example, the stem of the tree, the trunk, represents the sun. The root system, the base of the tree, where the tree grows out of, is Saturn. If we look at the fruit of the tree, that represents Jupiter. The smell, the look, the colors of the tree, that's Venus. How the tree communicates with other trees through the root system is Mercury, the intellect, the intelligence, the communication. The leaves of the tree is the moon. The defense mechanism of the tree, how it defends itself from infections and other territories, is Mars. So we can see all physical matter, all physical creation demands these 7 categories of consciousness, these 7 planetary forces. But again, that is the macrocosmic scale. The macrocosm is reflected in the microcosm, which means you have access to these forces, these 7 planetary energies, and you use them to create anything in reality. You've been using them maybe unconsciously your whole life. For example, this book that I've created, the Book of Wisdom Volume 2, you can find it in the bio if you're interested in reading it. It has the 7 planetary forces that go into this tree, into this book. I used the sun, which is my passion and my drive to take actions. I used Mercury, which is my intellect, my thinking, my communication. I used Venus, the layout, the look of the book. I use Mars, my defense of my work, my trademark, my copyright. I use Saturn. Saturn is my time, my discipline, my attention. I use Jupiter, which is the why, the reason why I created it. I used the moon, which is my care. My care is the generative force. Whatever you create in your reality is because you care. You care about keeping a house above your head. Therefore, you go to work and earn money. Care is the driving force to create anything in reality. What you see right now watching this video is because you care about watching this video. If you lose care about watching the video, you will turn it off and continue to do something else. All creation demands these 7 forces, hence why we have here a midsection. Sometimes we see the symbol of the earth, which is a circle and a cross in the middle, because these 7 forces create earth. But again, this video is specifically aimed to Saturn. We're going to be discussing Saturn's Saturnic energy because there is a lot of misunderstanding in today's world. And I'm going to give my perspective and my research on the energy of Saturn and how we use it and how it's being abused in today's world. Saturn externally, because remember, we have an external world, an internal world, a macro and a micro. Saturn externally in the material plane governs the foundational and enduring aspects of existence, such as the roots of plants, the bones of our body, even the insects that dwell beneath the ground. It represents the dull, hard, unyielding forces of life, symbolizing structure, limitation, and conditioning. Under Saturn's influence, things become rigid, bound by the god of time, bound by restriction and boundaries. In Roman mythology, Saturn is revered as the god of time, ruling over the cycles, beginnings, and endings. This connection with this emphasizes Saturn's role in marking the passages of life, aging, and inevitable constraints we all face. Internally, inside yourself, the microcosm. Internally, Saturn embodies the conditioning within our own consciousness. When Saturnian aspects of consciousness dominates, we become overly rigid, fixated, restricted in our thinking and actions. For example, Saturn's influence is strongly felt in today's world, where many people's minds are confined to societal norms and conditioned responses. The pervasive control Saturnian energy can lead to the sense of limitation, as people become trapped within structure imposed by society and power structures. However, we have to remember that limitation, there is dark and light. Limitation is not bad. This is why Saturn is connected to the god Satan. They are the same being. It's something that restricts, holds back, and keeps you limited, conditions and limits consciousness to its lower power. Saturn is a great teacher, guiding us through difficult life lessons that ultimately lead to growth and expansion and power. Although Saturn's energy is harsh and often challenging, it helps us to develop resilience, discipline, and wisdom. Yet in modern age, this energy has overpowered the minds of the masses, fostering excessive rigidity and limitation. Instead of being ruled by Saturn's constraints, we should seek to embrace more freedom, love, joy, balancing Saturn's lessons with openness and fluidity in our life. So like I said, Saturn rules law. Anything that is limiting or holding back, something that is a restriction or a wall. This is why we see judges wear black robes. The color black is associated with Saturn because Saturn rules over the nighttime and the winter time. Capricorn, they wear black robes. A graduate also wears a black robe with a black square cap on its head because black is associated with Saturn, restriction, limitation. University graduates wear this. Personally, not to offend anyone, these educational systems that we have in today's world are not here to give you power, to find you the power of consciousness or yourself. They are simply to restrict you, to keep the mind limited in a certain belief system. That's not to say the things in university are completely useless, but what I'm saying is it is a conditioning by the educational system. And if we actually look at the top of the hat, it's a square over a circle. And in Freemasonry, we see the compass on top of the square. In Freemasonry, we see the square underneath the compass on top of the square. The square creates squares and the compass creates circles. So this is symbolizing the square, which is matter, the circle, which is spirit, matter over spirit when it needs to be spirit over matter. This is a symbol of conditioning, limiting the mind into being locked in the 5 senses and base consciousness. Saturn's energy is keeping people restricted. This is why there is so much Saturn symbolism in today's world, because Saturn is anything to do with limitation, restriction, and time. All of the systems in place are to limit our minds, to keep us on base base consciousness, only thinking in a limited box, only thinking and aware of the five senses. In base consciousness, in animal nature, one only thinks according to their senses. When they have a sense, their mind thinks. This is an affect state of consciousness. They're living in the affect. We need to understand that in base consciousness, we have no true power to create. We're simply living in cycles of affect. Now, what do I mean? The physical world is the effect. It's already manifested and cannot be changed. Our consciousness needs to rise to become a cause instead of playing around and being lost in the effect, to become a co-creator. And this is what the system does not want you to do. It does not want you to become a conscious creator. So they keep you in base consciousness, not giving you the awareness that you are literally a god creating a world right now. You are a world and you are shaping the world. Our consciousness needs to be mastered, controlled, and then we can become a conscious creator instead of running around in the world of illusion and effect. As above, so below. What happens in the mind happens in reality. We do not want to be matter over spirit, which means the external world over the internal world. We need the internal world to rule over the external. Saturn's symbolism can be symbolized as a black cube. The cube symbolizes this physical world because everything has 6 sides. We can move forward, backward, left, right, up, and down. We are in this cube. This is why we say think outside the box. Thinking outside the box means to become a cause and not an effect. The mind needs to be a cause, an instruction center, and not just thoughts that are reinforcing the effect and lost in the effects of the material world. Instead of reacting, we need to become a commander. This is a symbol of conditioning and the physical plane. Black is dull, lifeless. The physical world is lifeless. It has no power to create. It has no power to do anything. It is simply a projection and an effect. You, the mind, consciousness, are the cause. You can create the effect. In today's system, Saturn's energy is heavily relied on, which is just simply man-made laws, restrictions, time wasting, and keeping people in base consciousness, only aware of the physical 5 senses. Let's get something straight about the elites. They do not worship Saturn. There is nothing to worship. They simply use the energy of Saturn to keep people limited. They're not using the planet Saturn, but they're limiting people in their belief systems and physically where they can go, restricting boundaries, countries, restricting people's minds through mass media, which is all symbolism of limitation and restriction of Saturn. They're not worshipping it, they're using it and abusing it. Saturn could be anything in your mind that keeps you limited. If you have a limited thought that does not allow you to take action on something, that is a Saturnic energy within your own mind. Anything that is indoctrination, anything that is boundaries on you, that is a Saturnic energy. Some people say that the Saturn and the moon are working together to trap our soul. This is highly symbolic. Saturn and the moon are not forming a matrix to trap your soul and keep you reincarnated. Again, this is symbolic, and in the esoteric version, an understanding of this, we can see that they do have a relationship. The moon is our subconscious mind, and Saturn is restriction. If we have restrictions and belief systems in our subconscious mind that keep the soul locked and trapped only in these 5 bases, this 5 senses, then we will think and condition ourselves that we are only the physical body and never actually free ourselves from the material world and ascend. Saturn and the moon are not working together, but these are highly linked. By limiting the subconscious, we keep people stuck in base awareness, keeping them locked in the world of effect, never becoming a conscious creator. We have 2 spiritual currencies, time and attention. These are the 2 currencies that we spend. We spend time or pay attention. These are the 2 spiritual currencies that pretty much create our reality. And the system aims to hijack these 2 currencies from you, to limit you, to dominate you, so you do not become a conscious creator. So again, no one worships Saturn. It's simply just a symbol of limitation and restriction. Limitation has good and bad. Limitation can make us learn, overcome, become strong, disciplined. But when it's abused, it can keep people locked in base consciousness and stuck in their lower nature, never figuring out how powerful they are. You hold the power to shape a world. That's how powerful you are, to turn thoughts into physical existence. I'll see you in the next video. Please leave a like, comment, and a subscribe.